Good morning, adventurers. My name is Ben, and welcome to a morning show where I sit around, drink some tea, and talk about D&D. Alright, first up for T&D today, I have my I'm Just a Woman with a Master's Degree Loves Tacos mug. Again, one of those three things is true. And I am having some Harney & Sons green tea. It is one of my favorites. I am very tired, so we are going to hopefully get a little bit of caffeine going. I don't drink coffee, that's why I do tea. So hopefully I'll be able to get my brain in the right spot and all that. Anyway, getting into what we are talking about today, I am super excited about this one. I have been excited about it for a very long time. I even thought about doing an independent video on when this originally came out, a couple weeks ago. But here we are today to talk about the Tal'dorei Campaign Setting Reborn. This one I am super psyched about. Obviously, I'm a big fan of Critical Role. I've talked about it a few times on this channel and on my other platforms. And I was so excited to get this book because this book, which if you will think back, cast your mind back all the way to the ancient times of 2021, I talked about this book in a Third Party Thursday, the original Tal'dorei campaign setting. It is one of the prize pieces in my collection of D&D books. Honestly, it might be the biggest one for me. So when they announced that this one was coming out, this new one, I was so excited, and I am so excited to be able to sit here and talk to you guys about it. The first thing I want to emphasize is that the new book, the Reborn campaign setting, is thick as compared to the old one. We're talking pretty much double the number of pages, which is wild, and I am so excited about that, obviously. It's got so much more stuff than the old one, but they didn't actually cut much of anything from the old one, which is awesome. They essentially just wrote another of the original books and slapped it in the same binding. They fleshed a bunch of stuff out. They really got into it and talked about some of the things that you need to run a campaign in Tal'dorei now that Vox Machina has wrapped, because originally the original campaign setting came out before Vox Machina had even wrapped up. So Matt couldn't put some of the stuff that was in there that obviously happened after the fact, but some of the things that you just weren't expecting to happen, essentially, in the campaign, because of the fact that they didn't happen yet and he didn't want to spoil anything for his players. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about the new one today. So let's go ahead and let's take a look inside of the Tal'dorei campaign setting Reborn. First off, this cover art, beyond gorgeous. It is amazing. I love it. Don't get me wrong, I adored the cover art on the old book, but that is actually in here as a full page spread, as opposed to the cover, and the new cover is beautiful. It also draws the focus away from Vox Machina a little bit and puts it more on Tal'dorei as a whole, which is kind of what Matt was going for with this book. In his introduction, or prelude, or whatever he calls it in here, preface, he does talk about how Tal'dorei, in spite of the fact that they have moved on from it, is a very, very near and dear piece to him, piece of the world. It is where it all started, and so he really wanted to do it justice. So he went ahead and he fleshed out some more past what you see with Vox Machina specifically, which is awesome, because it's really fun to read about. Now, this book is set up in a very similar way to the original book, in that there is the intro, obviously. There is allegiances and factions and that sort of thing. There is the full gazetteer of the whole thing. I don't actually know how to say that word. I think that's right. I'm not positive. Gazetteer. I don't know. You know what I'm talking about. The thing with the maps and the descriptions of the places. That takes up, again, 80 pages of this book, which was the bulk of the older book. Character options, including how the races sort of exist in Tal'dorei as written by Matt. Some subclasses, some backgrounds, some feats, that sort of thing. The Game Master's Toolkit, which obviously will include things like running games in Tal'dorei, magic items that are there, and my personal favorite of that subset, the Vestiges of Divergence, obviously. And then a sixth, there we go, chapter of allies and adversaries in Tal'dorei, including the stat blocks for Vox Machina should they be encountered in your game. So we're going to take a quick look at a couple of these things in particular because I want to sort of give you guys a little bit more than just like a general summary of what's on the table of contents. But we're pretty much just going to like take a look at one or two of each of these things just to talk about them real quick. So starting out early on with the Allegiances of Tal'dorei, which is what the section is called. Really, it is the big picture / deities / faction stuff. First off, if you're watching this video, take a look at this art. It is beyond gorgeous. It is phenomenal. I mean, God, it's so pretty. But in the Allegiances of Tal'dorei, they go into the Pantheon. It is set up in a very similar way to the old book, if not identical, or identically. There we go. It's got the name for the deity in Tal'dorei because obviously Matt gave them all slightly different names, which is why they are able to be published in a third-party setting. I'm pretty sure that's how that works. How they are depicted, the domains that they sort of might encompass for like clerics or paladins, that sort of thing, and their holy day, as well as some commandments that they might have set forth. They have just each of the major, I think they're called the prime deities in Matt's world, have their own section here, which is fantastic, as well as a symbol for each one of them, which is awesome because a just descriptor symbol that you get in the back of the player's handbook on that massive table of deities is not nearly as helpful as an actual picture for you to base what you want off of. So I am happy about that. They also obviously talk about the betrayer gods before getting into the factions and societies. Now, these are great because it is something that will help you sort of flesh out the way that your world is going to work in Tal'dorei. And by your world, I mean your version of the world of Tal'dorei. Each of the different factions has a description of what they are, followed by goals, relationships, and figures of interests within them, which is super helpful because assuming that you are playing close to the Vox Machina days, the figures of interest will help you out a lot. It also helps you sort of personify the goals or the guilds or factions as a whole. But the figures of interest also give you sort of a sense of how the guild or faction is set up. So you are able to then make an informed decision if you decide to play way in the future of who would be in that role instead and how they would be operating the guild if you want to keep it close to this book. That's all we're going to talk about for the big picture / deity / factions section. That's just what I wrote it down as, so that's why I keep saying that. And we're going to jump forward to the Gazetteer. It's a Gazetter, I guess. Once again, gorgeous full-page spread of art. They talk in each of them individually about very specific pieces of it that will help you as a DM sort of flesh out the area. We're going to talk about Whitestone because it is one of the more prominent ones in Vox Machina, and it just makes sense because it's sitting in front of me too. So under the Whitestone category, they're divided up by region. Whitestone is a subset of one of those regions, obviously. They are next to the Alabaster Sierras. Whitestone, it is listed out as a small city population, 17,710, with percentage breakdown of the different racial populations there. So 78% human, 7% halfling, 6% dwarves, 4% tieflings, and 5% other races. Then they give you a full sort of description of the area, followed by if there are any special things in there. So I guess minor spoiler for Campaign 1 if you haven't seen it yet. Go ahead and click through to when I pick up my mug and take a sip. This one, Whitestone has a section called Scars of the Briarwoods, which is obviously talking about the lasting effect that the Briarwoods had on Whitestone. Then it has some more history stuff, how that impacted it, how each government is set up for each different place, if there is a government, defenses, if they have defenses set up, crime, geography, and points of interest, as well as, depending on the place, different little adventures that you can have in the area. So Whitestone has a couple of adventures. Let's see, any level, low level, and high level. So it's got one of each of them, which is great. Whitestone, obviously, also because it's a bigger, a bigger piece of the puzzle, has this great map that comes with it to show you all of Whitestone, which is really, really awesome. So each of the places in this section of the book have a similar sort of setup. Whitestone is more fleshed out. They spend a lot of time there, but they are all at least some semblance of the same as that. Moving forward to the races of the land. This one is actually pretty straightforward. It makes a lot of sense. There's nothing insane about this one. Essentially, they talk about each race. They sort of describe who they are as a person in Matt's mind, how he's imagined them in this world, followed by where it is that they reside primarily, as well as any notable major groups, major population centers of them in particular. If there are sub-races that go with it, they might have like separated out different sort of little pieces about them in there. But really, you don't get any stats or anything from this, but you get the lore behind them in this world, which is a nice thing to have. Plus, once again, beautiful, beautiful artwork everywhere throughout these pages. They are the artists in this book really just did a phenomenal, phenomenal job, and I cannot emphasize that enough. Moving on from the races to the subclasses, this is where we get a little bit more crunchy with everything. I like pretty much all of these subclasses. There are a couple more of them from the original book. The original book only had, I think, 3 or 4 of them, maybe 5. And this one includes, I think it's 7 of them, a couple of new ones, including all of the old ones that they had, with some tweaks and updates that Matt has done. These are, they range from being more mechanically balanced to more flavor balanced. That's just sort of what you get one way or another with that sort of thing. But they are all pretty cool to look at and read through, just to get sort of a different idea on some of these things. I would need to sit down and like really tear through them to see if there's something that like I would want to play or offer to my players. But they are definitely viable to make NPCs based on these things, which I will most definitely be doing. My favorite one is actually the College of Tragedy Bard, because look at this man here. He is a Goliath, Balthazar Bleakskull. He's having a good time with his skull there. It's a fun time, I think. In this section, there's also a section on Hemacraft, which is blood magic, which is super cool. In addition to blood magic being a wizard subclass in this book. So it's cool that Matt has like engaged with that, because I know that he has leaned into that sort of theme before, and so to see it actually like written out and come to fruition on a page is really awesome. Skipping forward, I'm actually not going to go over all of the Game Master's tools. They're pretty self-explanatory, but I want to just touch on the Vestiges of Divergence, because I love the Vestiges of Divergence. The cat, you can see him right in the corner there, has decided to come pay us a visit. It has the same art spread as the original book, which is great. It's one of my favorite pictures in that original book. It's got all kinds of lore, all kinds of sort of deep dive things on the Vestiges, how they came to be, what they are, what they're for, that sort of thing, which is fantastic. I love getting to read about that. And then it has all of the Vestiges from the original book. I believe it has all the Vestiges from... let me check on that before I say it, because I'm not 100% sure. I thought... Oh no, it does. It does not. It has all the Vestiges from the original book, and I was about to say it has the ones from the Wildmount Guide, but that is not true. It does not have that. It instead also includes the Dawn Razor, which has not been published at this point, so it is cool to be able to see... Dawn Razor. Star Razor. Dawn Razor is a sword in my home game. Sorry, I was prepping for that earlier. I'm a little bit all over the place right now. It has stuff for the Star Razor in there. which is cool because we never got like a full breakdown of exactly what that sword can do. Moving on from the Vestiges to what I believe is one of the last, well, not last, they were smart to put it last, is what I'm trying to say. There are a bunch of different monster stat blocks in this book from notable things that we see throughout the Vox Machina campaign, and a couple of things from the Mighty Nine. One of my favorites is the Ember Rock, which appears in the Siege of Fort Daxio, I believe. But obviously, you know where we're headed. We are going all the way to Vox Machina, which is really exciting. In addition to Vox Machina being statted out in here, which is amazing, it's super cool. You don't get everything that they have as 20th level characters. Obviously, that would be insane. Instead, you get a stripped down version of their stat block. You can add and adjust things as you need to, obviously, but these are the important things that they thought of to put in here, which I think is really awesome. Each of the Vox Machina characters gets a portrait, which is phenomenal. It's gorgeous. All of the art, once again, is beyond pretty. There is keyless for everybody who is paying attention in the video. In addition to getting their stat block, you also get lore on them and an update on what they're doing following the epilogue of the Vox Machina campaign, which is so cool. It's little bits of stuff. It's honestly like 3 sentences, but it tells you so much. I rewatched Vox Machina before Legend of Vox Machina came out because I wanted to, and so getting to have just heard sort of their ending that they put out on the show, followed by getting this book and getting to see the little bits and changes that they had made as they looked down the line a little bit further, is really cool. I'm not gonna say anything. I'm not gonna spoil anything because I don't want to ruin it for anybody. If you want to pick up this book, it'll tell you what it is in there. You can do that for yourself. But it's so cool. It's so well done too. And then the last thing that I want to touch on that I think is really awesome, and I genuinely wish that more books like this would do this, and I didn't know that I wanted it until I got this book, is that the last thing in their book, other than the license, here we go. Okay, so license is the last page. Right before that is a full index of the artists. Every single piece of art in this book is credited with a page number on the back here, with ways that you can find these different artists, handles, websites, anything like that, which is so cool. It's so good. I'm so glad that they do that. They've been good about crediting artists in the past, obviously, but I am so happy that I can be flipping through the book and go, wow, that's a really cool piece of art, and flip back to see who it is that did it, and then be able to go find their stuff if I want to find their stuff further past that. So I personally am so glad that they put that in there, and I wish and hope that that will become a more common occurrence in these type of books moving forward. That is everything I have to say about the Tal'dorei Campaign Setting Reborn. Once again, oh man, I'm all out of focus now. Once again, this book is so cool. It is an easy investment for any Critical Role fan. I think that it more than makes up for it being a full-priced hardcover D&D book, obviously. You can get it on their store, I believe, on any of the Critical Role stores. I believe that soon it will be in more major stores, local game shops, that sort of thing. But for now, I'm pretty sure the only place that you can get it is on their actual Crit Role shops, whatever their actual website is. I can't think of it off the top of my head. But this is a genuinely super cool book. I highly recommend you get it, especially if you're a Critical Role fan or you want to play in Tal'dorei. So that is everything I have to say about that. Going on to what different streams and games we have going on tonight. It's Thursday, which obviously means Critical Role is happening. But that also means that we have a relatively short lineup for today. I asked this question on TikTok. I asked for people to recommend their best shows to me so that I could put them in this. And I got so many responses. And I have a much more robust schedule for you guys every day of the week here, which is exciting. But for Thursday, Critical Role kind of reigns supreme over it. We also have Authors and Dragons, NADPOD, and LGBT D&D. So check those out. My listen to / watch list has grown like 50-fold because of asking that question. So I am excited to get to check out everything else that is there. But those are the 4 that we have tonight. And I hope that you guys will go ahead and give those a shot. That is everything that I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for making me part of your morning routine. I really do appreciate it. If you enjoy the show and want to support it, you can find a link to my Patreon in the description of the video or the podcast if you are listening to it in podcast form, because I have that now too. We are waiting on approval from Apple Podcasts and Google Play yet, but we are up on Spotify and Podbean. So go ahead and find me there. If you have a podcasting service that you want me to submit to, please let me know so that I know to put it in other places as well. But I believe that is everything that I have to talk to you guys about today. So thank you so much once again. Drink tea, play D&D, and keep on rolling.